Oh man. 16 kids. 16 kids. Ranging from, I think, 18 months. What I have reported here is 2 years old up to 18 years of age. And that's 16 living children that the authorities know about right now and have in protective custody here in Ohio. So if you don't already know probably what I'm going to touch on, it's going to be a little local topic here. A lot of people are talking about this. But this hits home for me because this is literally right down the street. It is a straight shot down Route 664 from where I live here in Ohio. Probably about an hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes because of speed, traffic, etc. I got to start using other pet words. Whew, gotta take a deep breath for a minute. I mean, that story just wore me out, but I've been struggling with my 7-month-old puppy. He is stubborn. Man, he is stubborn. Sammy the dog. But he's awesome. Stubborn. So I'm used to hound dogs. Always grew up with hounds. And he's a rescue from the Humane Society. We were best buddies right at the cage. And he is a mix, and I think it's black and tan or maybe blue tick. I'm not sure, but definitely Australian blue heeler. So he's stubborn. And I've never owned any type of shepherd or cattle dog. Been around them, and I know they need a lot of work, need a lot of attention, and it's a lot of energy. So the weather around here yesterday was horrible because all that smoke. So we didn't get out as much yesterday. So I think that energy just got stored up. He's wearing me out this morning. But anyways, so if you don't already know, or if you guys have been tracking this stuff, I'm talking about the Siders family here in Ohio. This story unfolded several weeks ago, and it's absolutely a travesty. It's a tragedy. And how the fuck this can go on in this country is beyond me. But it doesn't surprise me. It is beyond my reach of understanding because I don't live like this, and I wouldn't allow somebody else to live like this. Plus, I also live in close proximity to people, and hopefully people are minding their own business, but hopefully also people are take their brother's keeper. They're looking out after their brother. So 4 members of the family got arrested. Sheriffs down there decided that they needed to serve a warrant on this Sider family member, the father of all these kids. So it's the grandparents and the 2 parents of all these kids. And it appears that it started way back when this girl was 15 in West Virginia. Anyways, so there's 4 of those guys. They got sheriffs roll up. They're going to serve a search warrant for, I think his name, Gary. We'll get to it. Yeah, Gary Siders Jr. So completely unrelated. Guy was goofing off, did something, went to go search give him a search warrant. And then they discover this. And these guys were so shocked, so surprised that the reports are saying that if they didn't intervene right then for the children, that these guys would probably be facing murder charges. Unbelievable. So, one of the questions everybody has out here, how could 16 children be living in these conditions without someone stepping in sooner? This isn't the only family here in America that this is happening to. Or happening, around our families. This community down in Hamden, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Joe Burrow, that famous quarterback. Well, he's down there from Athens. I don't know if it's the same county, but from what I understand, that whole area down there is pretty rural and it's pretty poor. Not a lot of industry down there, so I don't know what you do for a living down there and farming and stuff like that, but I don't know what tech you're gonna do, banking, etc. And all the people that they're interviewing, I'm sorry, they don't have higher than a 9th or 10th grade education. When you hear them talk and being interviewed on television, it's not like I would be any better, with my 12th grade. That's Sammy Dog shaking the camera. Sammy, I really don't need you down there right now, buddy. Well, we got into a fight this morning, so he's trying to make up. So it is a quiet community, but it is spread out. So how these 16 children could live in this house undetected, they were never processed through any legal system that kept track of them. The parents never brought them for, routine medical treatments, dental treatments. They weren't involved with, sports, recreational sports. They were hostages. And it had to start with somebody. Somebody had to teach these two parents, young parents, with these 16 kids how to do that. Because they look like they've been invading the law and invading the system and knowing how to duck and dive. Because this house that they found them at wasn't their only residence. So this is going to be a crazy one. So, down there, so like right here, it says Hammond is a small village in southeastern Ohio, Vinton County. Home to only a few hundred residents. What does that tell you? Home to only a few hundred residents in a county. I wonder where you would hide 16 kids. And that house was disgusting. So apparently it was unbelievable. And I can't get my head wrapped around how unbelievable it is, because I tend to work overseas a lot. Not as much as I used to, but I still work overseas in areas in third world countries like Chess, Senegal, where when it monsoons, it's a flood going down the street, and you see every piece of trash that's been thrown on the floor or the ground going down the street, to include metal bowls, pots. I even saw a coffee pot floating down the street. I got video of it. But they treat their kids better than that. They have a better sense of community. They might be a little bit more violent, tune you up if you go against societal norms, but at least they treat each other a little bit better than what this family was treating their kids. And their kids, how could you do this? And also, what's crazy in this quiet community is that nobody had ever seen the people in that house, to include the adults. It's like Gary Siders Jr. I guess he was going out trying to get his rocks off because he's a weirdo. I think, got a little something. I wouldn't be surprised if the parents were brother and sister. And their parents were brother and sister. So, this is fucking unbelievable, man. This should be a bigger story than what's going around. I don't know if it's, nationwide. But this is what we should be on the lookout. This family was literally trafficking their own family, moving them around and around. And God knows what they were doing to those kids inside the house. Beatings. I know they were being starved. One girl didn't even know her own name, know how to spell her own name. And she was one of the older ones. None of them went to school. None of them were educated. So, needless to say, sanitation, overcrowding, and overall safety of living environment. I know when this first broke here, the investigators on television were shaken. So I don't know if they're downplaying it. Maybe this is the first time they've ever seen something that horrible before because it's children. I said, go overseas, go to a war zone. Watch what we do to children over there. It's absolutely horrific. And it's going on today, all over the world. Especially in a couple places specifically. So here are the charges. Gary Siders Jr., Elizabeth Siders, that's the 15-year-old, I believe. I'm going to say that's the 15-year-old. That's the mother of all the kids. She might be a victim too. So she had her first child when she was 15. This Gary dude, Gary Siders Jr., they got married when she was 15. So they got married when she was 15. She got married when she was 15. I don't know if she had the baby when she was 15 or if she, 16. But that was in West Virginia, so they're already starting to evade the law. So then you got to immediately look to the parents, Gary Siders Sr. and Christina Siders. They're the ones that help them navigate. Like, kids don't know how to navigate the legal system. They don't know how to navigate the medical system. And they definitely don't know how to escape and evade. Which is what they did from West Virginia here to Ohio. And how many places in Ohio, I don't know, but it sounds like it was at least a couple places down there in Hampden County. So each are faced with child endangerment related to charges connected to the conditions investigators say existed inside the home. Well, multiple. They're all facing multiple felonies. And we don't know if we're even going to be able to, well, not we. The county of Hampden doesn't even know if they're going to be able to prosecute this case because of what it's going to cost monetarily. And we haven't even got into the court stuff for, well, what they've already got, the arrests and the preliminary and the arraignments and stuff like that. But they haven't had a preliminary hearing yet. I don't believe. I'll have to double check with that. But regardless, they're already running out of money. And they haven't even addressed the fact that Gary Siders Sr. is incredibly ill and needs so much medical attention that in and of itself will bankrupt the whole process, the whole county. So they're looking they're panicking. They don't know what to do. This is the first time they've ever dealt with this in this type of situation down in that county, and they weren't prepared for it. Why should you be? This isn't something that should be happening here in America or anywhere else around the world. So so these guys are all, obviously innocent before proven guilty, and they're just putting this little thing and the little disclaimer in there. And I love when they go to these child welfare experts. Like, how can so many children be living in unsafe conditions without earlier intervention? How many children does Child Services put into unsafe conditions every year? And it goes, not unreported, but it just goes ignored. It goes untreated until something bad happens. We just had something here just right around Columbus where these two, a lesbian couple had, 4 kids, 5 kids, a couple kids, and they just got rolled up since May for child endangerment. Same exact thing, just not at the same scale, but it's happening in our tight communities too. So how could this happen out in a rural community like that? Easy. And that's where you go to do that shit. That's where why you cook meth out in the pecan fields in New Mexico. Man, if you're interested in this stuff, it's going to be an interesting story, to follow. Give you a little break from the Tyler Robinson case and the Charlie Kirk drama. God bless Charlie Kirk. He didn't need to go out that way. And it's a fun way. Just a side note here, my conclusion. Luigi Mangione, that kid from Butler. We got Tyler Robinson. Look at the age of all these kids and all this violence that's happened here in the last 2 years. And we've been trying to pin it on the trans and all that stuff, but there's something mentally ill in this country that's wrong with our children. And I think it's also being developed. I think there's an attempt, like I said, there's a design by something. We didn't have this type of shit when I was growing up in the 70s. Out.